new system is without its kinks. You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week, but complained about conditions. Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night, and even attempted to get into his office. Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system, something about robots seeing you as an endoskeleton without its costume on, and wanting to stuff you into a suit. So hey, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on any time, and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually, anything that wandered in will wander back out.
Hello, my name is Kavin Catastrophe, and this is my Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Hidden Story. So, lately my video has been about analyzing the retro CDs in Security Breach and finding the hidden story deep inside. And we are still doing that, but not in this video. You see, the next retro CD is going to be about learning about present-day Fazbear Entertainment and what type of company they are now. But I really can't do that unless I explain what type of company they were back in the past. Now, everyone has their own interpretation of the Five Nights at Freddy lore, and mine isn't going to be no different. This theory is going to be me explaining who I believe is the true villain of the Five Nights at Freddy franchise, as it may not be who we think it is. So I'm giving you a warning right now. If you do not agree with my interpretation of these events, then that is totally fine. My videos are not here to change anyone's minds. They are just for fun, so let's have some fun. Before we begin, I do have to mention something very strange I have noticed, and that is the fact that the timelines of events are out of order.
No shit, Sherlock!
And when I say out of order, I mean purposely out of order. Every event and circumstances seems to be completely jumbled up like a jigsaw puzzle. There's clearly a timeline where everything is in order, but Scott Cawthon has made sure we cannot easily piece together these timelines. The phone guy's conversation that takes place in Fnaf 1, 2, and 3 are recordings, which means we can't confirm if those phone calls are taking place in the present or in the far past. Combined with some paychecks showing the date while some aren't, the newspapers not telling us the year, and the minigames being its own type of confusion, all of these are purposely designed to manipulate the fandom so they don't figure out what the heck is going on. Which means that I will not be using the universally agreed timeline by the fandom for my video, because they could have been manipulated into believing in those agreed timelines. Instead, I'm just going to go over what I believe are some of the events that are connected with each other without worrying about the time period.
What year is it?
It was brand new.
No. What year is it?
This video is meant to show what type of company Fazbear Entertainment is, and that's all. I will make a video one day on what I believe are the orders of these events and all that takes place within it, but for now, let's begin. Long ago in Hurricane, Utah, a new pizzeria was sweeping the area. It was called Fazbear Family Diner. This diner became one of the most popular local family restaurants around, as it grew so big that multiple locations was being made all over the area. The names of these locations would be called Freddy Fazbear Pizza. Famous for its delicious pizza, but mostly for its singing and dancing animatronics. Owned by a company known as Fazbear Entertainment, Henry Emily and William Afton would form a business partnership that would change the pizzeria industry forever. This pizzeria establishment seems to have a bright future ahead of it, as it quickly became known by everyone around. But everything changed when tragedy attacked. Missing people was reported all over the area, and their last known location always seems to be at Freddy Fazbear Pizza.
What? Oh no!
So, who were the first people that was reported missing? Well, it was the employees of Fazbear Entertainment themselves. Not wanting to lose steam, Fazbear Entertainment was trying out their brand new animatronic Springlock suits. Basically, these Springlocks would double as both an animatronic robot and suit for employees to get into, and be able to move around while interacting with the customers. Unfortunately, there was some problems. The suits was ridiculously complicated, and any slightest mistake would cause harm or death.
Hello? Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. These tapes will provide you with much needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Right now we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please pay close attention while learning how to operate these suits, as accidents/injuries/death/irreparable and grotesque maiming can occur.
So I guess we should really listen carefully so we know how to use these Springlock suits to make sure that doesn't happen.
What did you say?
And yes, I said listen, not watch, because Phone Dude confirmed that these are audio training cassette tapes, so no visual aid was used when the employees was learning how to put these things on.
Hey man, okay, I have some awesome news for you. First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric. I think they were like training tapes for like other employees or something like that.
Wow, I haven't even put on these training tapes yet, and I'm already finding problems. This doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to be training on how to operate these new dangerous equipment, and according to what Phone Guy said, we are brand new employees. I'm pretty sure the rule is that someone should be giving you a hands-on approach on how these things work. And if you're too lazy to do even that, at least make them watch a video. You said I could probably die, right? I feel like we should be taking more precautions here, but whatever, let's do this thing.
First, we'll discuss how to operate the mascots when they are in animatronic form. For ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound cues. This is an easy and hands-free approach to making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment/crowd-pleasing value.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. So in animatronic mode, the Springlock suits will automatically go to the direction where there's sound. But here's the thing, the word sound is very vague, as anything can be considered a sound. Clearly this is not what Phone Guy meant, because the animatronics would basically be going anywhere a noise is being made. Creator Scott Cawthon is going to be doing this a lot, where he uses words, but is very vague when it comes to those words. Either he wants us to figure out what he's actually talking about by using clues, or he's leaving it up to interpretation.
That is for you to decide.
Since Phone Guy says this feature is meant to stay where the children are, this is a clue, as the sound he was talking about is more specifically a children's sound. So if the animatronic hears a noise that sounds like this,
Hello? Hi.
it will automatically go to where that sound came from. Making an animatronic go to a specific type of noise is actually pretty genius. Revolutionary even, especially if you're able to isolate that noise from all of the other noise going inside the building. I wonder who invented that.
You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach.
I guess we will never know. Let's move on.
To change the animatronics to suit mode, insert and turn firmly the hand crank provided by the manufacturer. Turning the crank will recoil and compress the animatronic parts around the sides of the suit, providing room to climb inside. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic devices remain fixed.
So, the manufacturer has their own personal hand crank for us to use when tightening these Springlock suits? I guess that makes sense. If we use a different hand crank, then people might over-tighten it and cause damage to the animatronic device inside. Having their own personal hand crank will ensure we tighten it to the right amount, making sure we cause no harm to the expensive equipment. But still, you could have just designed the Springlock suit to let us know when it reached that right level of tightness using any hand crank. What if someone designed a hand crank wrong and that resulted in us not tightening it correctly?
What about the reality where Hitler cured cancer, Morty? The answer is don't think about it.
When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring locks located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak.
Phone Guy really isn't being clear when he says the animatronic parts inside of the suit. He is once again being very vague when it comes to his words. So let's figure out what he means by animatronic parts inside of the suit, because we really need to know everything we can when it comes to how these Springlock suits work. Unfortunately, since I have no visual aid of what Phone Guy is talking about, I'm going to assume by what we understand about the FNAF lore is that what he means by animatronic parts inside of the suit, he is talking about the endoskeleton. The endoskeleton is what makes the animatronics actually move and talk. Everything else when it comes to the animatronic, like the outer casing, such as the Freddy mask and the body parts, are just basically a complicated metal suit for the endoskeleton to wear. I'm going to be using the Five Nights at Freddy's Silver Eyes graphic novel to fill in some of the blanks when it comes to learning about the Springlock suits. Unfortunately, when it comes to these suits, the game doesn't give us much information, so the novel is the best we can do as the story talks heavily about them. And while I am aware that the novel is based on a different continuity or timeline than the games, the way how the Springlock suits works in the books should be the same as it is in the games. So the protagonist Charlie, daughter of Henry Emily, actually explains a little bit more in detail of how the Springlock suits works. Charlie explains that the Springlock suits can be worn like costumes, or they can move around on their own as fully functional robots. The robots are always inside of the suit. They're made of interlocking parts that are held back against the inner lining of the costume by the spring locks. When you want an animatronic, you just trip the locks and the robotic parts unfold inside, filling the suit. So just to be clear here, what Charlie just said was the endoskeleton is always inside of the suit. It's just being held back and folded by the spring locks to allow a person to jump inside. But why do this? Why keep the endoskeleton inside of the suit? Because the metal casing of the animatronics are huge and heavy, so having the endoskeleton within the suit to assist the wearer of moving is the reason why it's still in there. The endo is still active within the suit, it's just that the wearer has more control than the endo at this point, and the wearer is using the power of the endo to move the suit as they please. Dave the security guard, or Springtrap, or William Afton, whatever you want to call him, basically confirms that this is the case, as when he points to an endoskeleton, he refers to it as Springtrap, as he just admitted that while he was wearing the suit, the endoskeleton was indeed inside of the suit with him. A familiar face, so we meet again in yet another form. You remember Dave the security guard, a simple charade to move about without notice. And of course you met Springtrap, the thrilling fusion of man and technology. I confess he made me ecstatic with power, delirious over my newfound strength. If you break it down, these Springlock suits are just a bootleg version of the Iron Man suits. That's actually pretty cool. I can definitely see someone loving the idea of having that much power under their control. That feeling of being invincible and the strength that comes along with it.
Starting to wonder what the catch is.
Now, concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up.
The endo is supposed to always be inside of the Springlock suit. That's like the rule. If the spring locks inside of the suit becomes loose while someone is wearing the suit, not only will the endoskeleton be unfolded, making it an even tighter fit than before, but the animatronic parts will slowly take back full control of the suit, and the spring lock that was holding the endoskeleton back will begin to start digging deep inside of the wearer's skin. This is called a spring lock failure. I feel like this is unnecessarily complicated to a point where it doesn't have to be. Why is a pizzeria company making Iron Man suits? I don't see other pizzerias doing this. Is this like the first part of a magic trick or something?
Stop digging for hidden layers and just be impressed. I'm just trying to figure out why you would do this. Why anyone would do this. The reason anyone would do this, if they could, which they can't, would be because they could, which they can't.
Okay, while that could be a good enough explanation as to why they are doing this, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring here and offer my theory as to why they would do this. You see, the fictional lore within Freddy, Fazbear, and Friends is that these characters are aware that they are animatronics. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy knows that they are robots, which means that that's a part of their character's personality, is that they are robots. And if they know that they are robots, then the kids knows that they are robots. This is genius because when Freddy and friends perform on stage and they act like robots, it's because they are. It's all part of the experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for visiting, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Freddy and the gang are pretty tired, but they'll be back again next week after a few days of scheduled maintenance.
Unfortunately, Fazbear Entertainment wants to extend this experience from beyond the stage and have kids interact with their favorite characters. So mascot costumes is obviously the next step. But the problem is that since in canon, the lore of these characters are robots, the kids wants to interact with the robotic versions of these characters, and not some guy in a regular costume. So the Springlock Suits was apparently the best thing that they could come up with.
That's really dumb. But he's so cool! But that's so dumb!
Yeah, it is pretty dumb, and also pretty weird. According to the Silver Eyes novel, these Springlock suits seem to have been in effect as early as when Henry Emily and William Afton was running things solo. Phone Guy never truly specified if these Springlock suits are a brand new idea, but we are led to believe that the Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie on stage are regular animatronics. So what's going on here? In Fnaf 4, we see two employees putting on a Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie Springlock suits, but we also see animatronics of Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie on stage. Well, here's the thing, those animatronics are not regular animatronics. They are Springlock suits. They are the original Springlock suits, worn by Henry and William. They're just put in animatronic mode. How do I know that they are Springlock suits? I don't. But Phone Guy did say that they did have a spare golden mascot costume in the back that someone had put on.
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
The way Phone Guy talks makes it seem like that they have multiple Springlock suits, and he confirms that they had an extra spare in the back, which they was apparently unaware that someone had put on.
You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach.
Okay, that was weird. But do you see how confusing this whole Springlock Suit situation is? I truly can't confirm whether or not something is a regular animatronic or a Springlock Suit, since the Springlock Suits can enter animatronic mode at will. This would mean that throughout the entire Five Nights at Freddy franchise, every animatronic we have seen has the potential to be a Springlock Suit, and that's a huge problem. This was probably less confusing when Henry and William was the only ones using the Springlock Suits, but with multiple employees, that's a different story. But this begs the question, if the animatronics on stage are the original Springlock Suits, which I'm pretty sure they are, why make copies for the employees to wear? Are they like the newer versions of the Springlock Suits? And if so, why did Henry and William abandon their original suits and just left them in animatronic mode? Was there something wrong with them? Was the suits getting too old?
Let's address the elephant in the room. There's a bit of an age gap. You're getting old. It happens. It's natural.
Technology is always advancing, so I guess they was considered relics of the past. But if they are that old, why not just get rid of them?
There's another aspect to your end-of-day routine, and that is inspecting and salvaging any animatronics found in the alley outside the back door. Things are found here quite often, and while we aren't sure why, what we do know is that they can be used for parts, which can mean a much-needed revenue boost before starting your next day.
If they choose to keep it, they can still save a little bit more money from them. They can still salvage it. And while there are other advantages of holding on to old tech, the disadvantages really does outweigh the other, as there are far too many risks to be taken into account when making a gamble like this.
Of course, as with everything else in this line of work, those benefits come with risk. The safest thing to do is to throw it back outside, but then you get no money for the salvage. Choose to keep it, and you run the risk of certain negative consequences, namely death, should the item in question not be as docile as it first appeared.
Animatronic parts are very expensive, so even if they are considered older models, some of those parts can still be used for their newer animatronics.
By now I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know? And the smell.
I guess I'm a loser. A loser!
So the company decided to just go in a whole new direction and make them super kid-friendly. Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around, but if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever.
Okay, so who cares if Fazbear Entertainment is using older parts for their newer models? It has nothing to do with the Springlock Suits or the employees, right?
Wrong!
Fazbear Entertainment just admitted twice that they are so cheap that they would rather use their old tech and retrofit it into their newer animatronics. There are multiple problems with this, but one big problem is we really don't have a 100% confirmation on what Phone Guy means by parts. I mean, what type of parts are you even talking about?
It doesn't matter. It actually kind of does.
Let's say you wanted the newer animatronics to act like the older ones, to do exactly the same thing as the last one, because maybe you couldn't get in touch with the guy who programmed the original ones. So you copied and pasted the old circuit boards into the newer ones. But if those old circuit boards had a glitch, you have basically transferred the glitch into your newer animatronics. And since the Springlock Suits in animatronics mode is supposed to do the same thing as the regular animatronics, you have basically allowed an employee to put on an already glitchy, malfunctioning Springlock Suit.
Oh wait, Foxy. Oh yeah, Foxy. Hey listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy. If for some reason he activates during the night, and you see him standing at the far end of the hall, just flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold them in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models, too.
What did you say?
So let me get this straight. You was aware that there was a glitch in the older models. Stu allowed it to interact with the children, which that is just unsafe. And now you are saying that you believe that the glitch may have transferred over to the newer animatronics and they are just fine with that? This company is giving me a lot of anxiety attacks. Also, I know you said it's a minor glitch, but you know glitches can become worse, right? If not properly dealt with, right? Like, seriously, how are you guys still in business? The fact that you guys was aware of the glitch, but still allowed your customers and employees to still interact with your animatronics just proves that all of the lawsuit you guys had over the years are justified, as safety clearly was not your top priority. As a company, it is your job and your responsibility to make sure you do everything you can to keep people at your establishment safe. Because if you don't, then the victims caused by your absent-mindedness will haunt you forever. I just hope for your sake, this minor glitch doesn't end up being a bigger problem than you can handle.
The techs have been struggling to fix some serious glitches with the robots. I'm not sure what exactly is wrong, except that it's making the robots more eerie than entertaining.
The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
Apparently, the glitch extended beyond the robots. It went system-wide. It began infecting all the machines, and when the techs traced the glitch back to its origin, it led them to you.
We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fazbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down.
I'm not going to pretend to understand everything I'm reading here, but what I get is that the system-wide glitch was like a cascade that was broadcasting a very dangerous message.
The animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment / crowd-pleasing value.
While the techs were trying to reprogram the system to remove the glitch, the source of the glitch shifted.
So hey, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on any time and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually anything that wandered in will wander back out.
It reminds you of a mask? Like a disguise? Disguises let you be sort of invisible, don't they? You can get away with almost anything when you're invisible, can't you?
A familiar face, so we meet again in yet another form. You remember Dave, the security guard. A simple charade to move about without notice.
You'll have to excuse me, I'm not all that familiar with computer programming, so I might get this wrong, but what I understand is that the glitch stopped being a glitch and turned into an intentional set of subroutines that were aimed at creating the same thing the glitch created.
You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system, something about the robot seeing you as an endoskeleton without his costume on and wanting to stuff you into the suit.
Those subroutines seem to have come from you.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together. It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity of this creature, this monster that I unwillingly helped to create. As if what he had already done wasn't enough. He found a new way to desecrate, to humiliate, to destroy. As if the suffering wasn't enough, the loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this.
We learned a lot about the Springlock Suits, but unfortunately we didn't learn what happened to these mascot employees. This may actually take much longer than I thought, so I'm splitting this investigation into parts. There are still so much to learn about these Springlock Suits, and if I'm going to figure out what happened, I need to have a 100% understanding of how these Springlock Suits work, and what the employees was actually dealing with here. So I guess I'm going undercover as Fazbear's Entertainment new mascot employees to try and figure out what I can.
You fools! You stupid life-prolonging fools!
By putting myself in the employee's shoes, I should be able to figure out what happened. And like I said in the beginning of my video, figuring out what happened is going to play a big part into what's going on in Security Breach, which is the reason why I'm doing all this to begin with. I hope you guys enjoyed this, but remember, this is my interpretation of the events in Security Breach. There are millions of theories out there, and all I'm doing is presenting you with my own. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and remember,
there is more going on here than you realize.